The UES Defiant drifted silently through the cosmic void, its quantum sensors probing the mysterious anomaly that pulsed before them like a beating heart in the darkness of space. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her dark eyes reflecting the strange purple-green energies that twisted and writhed just beyond the reinforced plasteel. "Another spike in the quantum field," she announced, her voice carrying the measured calm of a veteran scientist. "These readings are unlike anything we've encountered in known space." Captain Marcus Rodriguez nodded from his command chair, his weathered face illuminated by the soft glow of holographic displays. The Defiant wasn't a military vessel. It was a research ship, staffed by Earth's brightest minds and equipped with experimental technology that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. The ship's revolutionary quantum core, developed by Dr. Chen herself, had made it possible to detect and study phenomena that other vessels couldn't even perceive. "Dr. Chen, what's your assessment?" Rodriguez asked, leaning forward. "Worth the risk of getting closer?" Before Sarah could answer, Lieutenant Emma Walsh's voice cut through the quiet atmosphere of the bridge. "Captain, multiple ships dropping out of FTL. Energy signatures. Nothing in our database matches them." The bridge crew watched as 5 vessels materialized from the darkness of space. They were beautiful in their alienness, sleek crystalline structures that seemed to have been grown rather than built, their surfaces refracting starlight in impossible patterns. They were also massive, each one easily dwarfing the Defiant. "First contact scenario," Rodriguez announced calmly, years of training kicking in. "Open all standard greeting channels, no aggressive posturing. Dr. Chen, power down the quantum core to minimal levels. Let's not frighten our new friends." The alien vessels moved with precise coordination, forming a perfect pentagon around the Defiant. A transmission burst through their communication system, automatically processed by their universal translator. "This is High Commander Xerxes of the Kronex Empire," a cold, metallic voice declared. "Your vessel has been detected operating forbidden technologies. Prepare for immediate inspection and technological requisition." Rodriguez exchanged glances with Dr. Chen. The Defiant's quantum core was revolutionary, the culmination of decades of human scientific advancement. It represented humanity's greatest achievement in understanding the fundamental forces of the universe. "This is Captain Marcus Rodriguez of the Earth research vessel Defiant," he responded diplomatically. "We come in peace and would be happy to discuss scientific exchange, but we cannot allow unauthorized boarding of our vessel." There was a pause, and when High Commander Xerxes spoke again, there was something like amusement in his artificial-sounding voice. "You misunderstand, primitive ones. This is not a request. The Kronex Empire has sole domain over quantum manipulation technology. Lesser species cannot be trusted with such power." Dr. Chen stepped forward, her face set with determination. "Captain, they're scanning us, attempting to probe the quantum core's containment systems." "Shields up," Rodriguez ordered, his voice still calm but carrying an edge of steel. "Let's show our new friends that humanity isn't as primitive as they think." The Kronex ships launched their first attack without warning. Precision energy beams designed to disable the Defiant's engines. But instead of impacting against standard shields, the beams encountered something else entirely. A quantum field barrier that caused their weapons to phase partially out of normal spacetime. "Impossible." Xerxes' voice boomed across the comm channel. "Your barrier technology. It operates on principles our sensors cannot fully analyze." "That's because you're thinking in linear terms," Dr. Chen muttered, her fingers flying across her console as she reinforced the quantum barrier. "Human innovation isn't about following established rules. It's about finding new ways to break them." The Defiant's quantum core hummed to life, its power signature rising as it responded to the threat. The ship's defensive systems, integrated with Dr. Chen's breakthrough technology, created protective fields that operated on multiple quantum states simultaneously, a defense that the Kronex's conventional weapons couldn't easily overcome. "They're repositioning for another attack," Lieutenant Walsh reported, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Multiple weapon systems charging. Rodriguez straightened in his chair. Dr. Chen, is the core stable enough for emergency maneuvers? Better than stable, Captain, she replied with a slight smile. It's adapting to their attack patterns. Every shot they fire teaches our systems more about their technology. The Kronax ships launched their second assault, this time with their full arsenal. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and exotic particle weapons converged on the Defiant's position. But the human vessel's quantum barrier didn't just defend. It learned, evolved, and adapted with each impact. As the battle unfolded, the Kronax discovered something that many others would learn in the years to come. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in the power of their weapons or the advancement of their technology. It was in their ability to adapt, to think differently, and to turn disadvantages into advantages. The first contact between humanity and the Kronax Empire hadn't gone as anyone had hoped. But as the Defiant's crew prepared for the fight of their lives, they knew they were about to teach these advanced aliens a lesson about underestimating human ingenuity and determination. The quantum anomaly pulsed behind them, temporarily forgotten but not abandoned. It would play its own role in the events to come, events that would reshape the balance of power in this sector of space forever. The Defiant shuddered as another barrage of Kronax weapons fire splashed against its quantum barrier. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Maya Patel braced herself against a console, her dark hair escaping from its usually neat bun. Warning lights pulsed an angry red as she monitored the quantum core's power output. Core stability at 87%, Maya reported through the ship's comm system. We can't keep taking hits like this, Captain. The containment field wasn't designed for combat conditions. On the bridge, Captain Rodriguez watched as the 5 Kronax vessels executed another perfectly choreographed attack pattern. Their movements were flawless, practiced, and predictable. 20 years of naval experience had taught him that perfection often masked the deepest weaknesses. Dr. Chen, he called out, you said the quantum core is learning from their attacks. What exactly does that mean? Sarah's fingers danced across her console, her expression intense with concentration. The core doesn't just power our shields, it analyzes the quantum signature of everything it interacts with. Each hit we take helps us understand their technology better. And, she paused, a spark of revelation in her eyes. Captain, I think I've found something. Before she could elaborate, Lieutenant Walsh's voice cut through the tension. Multiple missiles incoming. They're using some kind of quantum phase warheads. Our barriers might not. The missiles struck, but instead of detonating against the Defiant's quantum barrier, they simply disappeared. There was a moment of stunned silence on both sides of the battle. High Commander Xerxes' voice crackled through the comm system, genuine confusion replacing his usual arrogance. What trickery is this? Our phase missiles are designed to penetrate any known defense system. Dr. Chen allowed herself a small smile. They would have, if we were using a standard shield. But our quantum barrier didn't stop your missiles, Commander. It redirected them into a parallel quantum state. Basic application of Chen's third principle of quantum field manipulation. Impossible. Xerxes thundered. No lesser species could have developed such advanced theoretical understanding off. That's your problem right there, Maya interrupted, her voice carrying from engineering. You keep assuming we're lesser, but while you were perfecting your existing technology, we were thinking outside your carefully structured box. Rodriguez leaned forward in his command chair. Dr. Chen, can we use this to our advantage? Already on it, Captain, Sarah replied, her fingers flying across her console. Maya, I'm sending new power distribution protocols to engineering. We're going to try something the Kronax would never expect, because they'd never think it was possible. The Defiant's quantum core began to pulse with a new rhythm, its energy signature shifting in ways that made the Kronax sensors fluctuate wildly. Their perfect formation faltered for the first time as their targeting systems struggled to maintain a lock on the human vessel. What you're seeing, Commander Xerxes, Sarah explained, a hint of pride in her voice. It's human innovation at work. Your empire may have mastered quantum technology, but you use it like a blunt instrument. We've learned to play with it, to bend it in ways you never considered because they didn't fit your rigid theories. The Defiance barrier began to ripple with new patterns of energy, each wave carrying quantum field distortions that reached out toward the Kronax ships. Their crystal-like hulls began to resonate in response, creating interference patterns in their own defensive systems. Their shields are weakening, Walsh reported, excitement creeping into her professional tone. Whatever you're doing, Dr. Chen, it's working. Maya's voice came through again, strained but triumphant. Core stability now at 92% and rising. The new protocols are actually helping to regulate power flow. It's like, the more they attack us, the stronger we become. Rodriguez allowed himself a small smile. You see, Commander, humanity didn't develop quantum technology by following an established path. We did it by questioning everything, by trying what your people would consider impossible or illogical. It's not about who has the most advanced technology. It's about who can use it in ways no one else imagined. The Kronax ships began to pull back, their perfect formation now broken. Their weapons fire became sporadic, uncoordinated, as their crews struggled to adapt to the impossible readings their sensors were showing them. This is not over, Xerxes declared, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. The Kronax Empire will not allow such dangerous improvisations to. With all due respect, Commander, Rodriguez interrupted, you're not in a position to allow or disallow anything. The question you should be asking yourself is, if we can do this with a research vessel's quantum core, what else might humanity be capable of? As if to emphasize his point, the Defiance quantum barrier pulsed once more, sending ripples of energy that caused the nearest Kronax vessel's shields to flicker and fade momentarily. It was a demonstration, nothing more, but the message was clear. The battle had reached a stalemate, but it was a stalemate that felt like victory for the human crew. They had proven that humanity's approach to quantum physics, creative, intuitive, and unrestricted by conventional thinking, could stand against even the most advanced alien technology. But as Dr. Chen studied the readings from their recent quantum interactions with the Kronax ships, she realized something that made her breath catch in her throat. The data suggested possibilities that even she hadn't considered, possibilities that could either end this conflict or escalate it beyond anything either side had prepared for. Behind them, the quantum anomaly they had originally come to study pulsed with renewed intensity, as if responding to the energies being exchanged in the battle. Sarah couldn't help but wonder if they had stumbled upon something far more significant than a simple first contact situation. The real test of human ingenuity might be just beginning. Lieutenant Emma Walsh had spent years studying alien combat tactics, but she'd never seen anything quite like this. The Kronax ships maintained their distance now, moving in precise geometric patterns that seemed more like a dance than a military formation. She watched them through the bridge's main viewport, her tactical display overlaid with their movement predictions. They're beautiful, in their own way, she mused. Every maneuver perfectly calculated, every position mathematically optimal. That's exactly their weakness, Dr. Chen replied, not looking up from her console, where she analyzed the quantum field data from their earlier exchange. They're so focused on perfection that they've lost the ability to improvise. Captain Rodriguez stood behind his science officer, studying the complex equations flowing across her screen. Explain. Sarah finally looked up, her eyes bright with revelation. The Kronax approach everything like a mathematical equation that needs to be solved. Their tactics, their technology, even their society. It's all based on rigid hierarchical structures. They don't just prefer order. They're incapable of functioning without it. From engineering, Maya's voice joined the conversation. That tracks with what I'm seeing in their weapon signatures. Their quantum phase missiles were perfectly engineered, but they only work in exactly one way. When our barrier introduced chaos into the equation, their entire weapon system failed to adapt. Rodriguez slowly smiled. So we create chaos. More than that, Sarah said, standing up and walking to the tactical display. We use their own perfect order against them. Maya, remember that theory we discussed last week about quantum field inversions? The one that sounded completely insane. Yeah, I remember. What if we weren't crazy enough? Sarah's fingers traced patterns on the display. The quantum anomaly we came here to study. It's not just a spatial phenomenon. It's a natural quantum field inverter. That's why our readings were so unusual. Lieutenant Walsh leaned forward, understanding dawning on her face. You want to use the anomaly as a weapon. Better, Sarah replied. I want to use it as a mirror. The Kronak ships generate perfectly ordered quantum fields for their weapons and defenses. If we can reflect those fields back at them through the anomaly's inverting properties, their own perfect order becomes perfect chaos. Maya finished. That's brilliant and completely insane. Rodriguez studied the tactical display, his expression thoughtful. Can we do it? Maybe, Sarah said. But we'll need to modify the quantum core to channel the anomaly's properties, and we'll need to get the Kronak ships into exactly the right position, which they'll never do if they suspect what we're planning, Walsh added. They're cautious now, after our last exchange. The captain nodded slowly. Then we'll give them what they expect. The Kronaks believe they understand humanity now, that we're clever but ultimately predictable. Let's play into that. Over the next hour, the crew of the Defiant worked feverishly to implement their plan. In engineering, Maya reconfigured the quantum core's containment fields while Sarah wrote new algorithms to control the planned field inversion. On the bridge, Walsh and Rodriguez studied Kronak's battle tactics, looking for the perfect moment to spring their trap. The Kronaks maintained their distance, occasionally firing ranging shots that dissipated harmlessly against the Defiant's quantum barrier. High Commander Xerxes had gone silent, but they could sense his ship's sensors constantly probing them, trying to understand their capabilities. Core modifications complete, Maya reported. But Sarah, this is going to be tricky. The power requirements are massive, and if our timing is off by even a microsecond, then we get it right, Sarah replied firmly. Humanity didn't get to the stars by playing it safe. Rodriguez took his command chair, his posture relaxed but alert. Lieutenant Walsh, begin the sequence we discussed. Let's show the Kronaks exactly what they expect to see. The Defiant's quantum barrier began to fluctuate, its energy patterns becoming erratic. To the Kronak sensors, it would appear that the human vessel was losing power, its experimental defenses finally failing under the strain. They're responding, Walsh reported, watching her tactical display. All 5 ships are moving to optimal firing positions. Classical Kronak's encirclement pattern, just as predicted. Of course they are, Rodriguez said softly, because it's the perfect tactical response, the mathematically correct solution to the problem we're presenting. Sarah's hands moved across her console, making final adjustments. The quantum anomaly's output is increasing. Either it's responding to our preparations, or it knows what we're about to do. Maya finished. Quantum core ready for field inversion. Waiting for your signal, Captain. The Kronak ships completed their encirclement, their crystalline hulls gleaming as they prepared for what they believed would be the final attack. High Commander Xerxes' voice returned, full of smug satisfaction. Your resistance was admirable, humans, but ultimately futile. Surrender now, and we will ensure your quantum technology is put to proper use by those who truly understand its potential. Rodriguez exchanged glances with his crew. Walsh's hand hovered over her tactical controls. Maya's breathing was steady over the comlink, and Sarah Chen stood ready at her station, her expression focused and determined. You know, Commander, Rodriguez replied calmly, for such an advanced species, you never ask yourselves one very important question. Why would a research vessel choose to study this particular quantum anomaly? There was a moment of silence as the implications of his words registered. Then Sarah's voice, quiet but clear. Now, the trap was sprung, and the true battle for survival began. Not with weapons or shields, but with humanity's greatest weapons: innovation, adaptability, and the courage to attempt the impossible. Time seemed to slow as the Defiant's quantum core surged with power, channeling the strange energies of the anomaly. The purple-green light that had been pulsing in the distance now seemed to reach out toward them like tendrils of cosmic lightning, drawn to the ship's carefully calibrated quantum fields. Field inversion in 3, 2, 1. Sarah's voice was steady as she initiated the sequence they'd prepared. The Kronax ships fired simultaneously, their weapons synchronized in a perfect pattern designed to overwhelm any defense. But as their energy beams and quantum torpedoes approached the Defiant, something unprecedented occurred. The quantum anomaly flared brilliantly, its light bending and twisting in impossible ways. "Contact in 5 seconds, Walsh reported, her hands tight on her console. 4, 3. Maya's voice cut through from engineering. Quantum core holding steady, field resonance at optimal levels. When the Kronax weapons reached the point where the Defiant's quantum barrier should have been, they instead encountered a field of pure chaos. The anomaly's energy, channeled and focused by the human vessel's experimental technology, caught their perfectly ordered attack and twisted it, inverted it, transformed it into something else entirely. By the First Empire, Xerxes' voice carried genuine fear for the first time. "What have you done?" The Kronax's weapons didn't just fail. They were reflected back at their ships, but not as simple mirror images. Each beam, each torpedo, was transformed by its passage through the inverted quantum field. The perfect order of their attack became perfect chaos, creating patterns of energy that their defenses had never been designed to handle. "Their shields are failing," Walsh announced, unable to keep the excitement from her voice. "The feedback is disrupting their entire defensive grid." On the crystalline hull of the nearest Kronax vessel, fracture patterns began to appear as the chaotic energy worked against its perfectly ordered structure. Their ships had been designed with mathematical precision, every system optimized for maximum efficiency. But now that very perfection was becoming their undoing. "Captain," Sarah called out, her eyes fixed on her readings, "the anomaly's reaction is stronger than anticipated. The quantum cascade is beginning to accelerate." Rodriguez gripped his chair as the Defiant shuddered under the strain of channeling such massive energies. "Can we control it?" "Not exactly," Sarah replied, her fingers flying across her console. "But maybe we don't have to. Maya, remember that paper we discussed about quantum field harmonics? The one about resonant frequencies? You can't be serious. That was purely theoretical. Theory's about to become practice. Reroute power to the secondary containment grid. We're going to ride this wave instead of fighting it." The space between the ships began to distort visibly as quantum fields collided and interacted in ways that defied conventional physics. The Kronax vessel's perfect formation began to break down as their crews struggled to cope with situations that fell outside their tactical databases. "Impossible." Xerxes' voice was barely a whisper now. "Our simulation showed no possibility of this outcome. The mathematics were perfect." "That's what you still don't understand," Rodriguez replied calmly. "You can't simulate human ingenuity. You can't calculate the odds of someone trying something simply because nobody else ever has." The quantum cascade reached its peak, and for a moment, reality itself seemed to hold its breath. The anomaly's light filled every viewport, its energies now fully entangled with the chaotic fields reflecting between the ships. "All hands, braced for impact," Rodriguez ordered. "Dr. Chen, whatever you're going to do it now." Sarah's hands moved with practiced precision as she executed the final phase of their plan. The Defiant's quantum core pulsed once, twice, then released a carefully modulated burst of energy that synchronized with the cascade effect. The result was spectacular. The chaotic quantum fields collapsed in on themselves, creating a brief but intense reaction that washed over all 6 ships. But where it shattered the perfectly ordered systems of the Kronax vessels, the Defiant's adaptive technology rode out the wave, bending without breaking. When the light finally faded, The Kronax ships hung motionless in space, their crystal hulls webbed with cracks, their weapons and shields completely offline. The Defiant had survived, its quantum core humming contentedly as it processed the massive amount of data they'd just gathered. "Status report," Rodriguez called out. "All systems functional," Maya reported from engineering, a note of disbelief in her voice. "The quantum core is actually running more efficiently than before. It's like it learned from the experience." "Kronax vessels are dead in space," Walsh added. "Their main power is offline. Life support only." Sarah stood from her station, approaching the main viewport where the quantum anomaly still pulsed, though more quietly now. "We didn't just win a battle, Captain. We've made a breakthrough in quantum field theory that could revolutionize human understanding of the universe, and taught the Kronax Empire a valuable lesson about underestimating lesser species," Rodriguez added, allowing himself a small smile. On the comm channel, High Commander Xerxes' voice returned, but the arrogance was gone, replaced by something that might have been respect. "The Kronax Empire acknowledges your unconventional victory. Perhaps there is more to learn from humanity than we had calculated." As the crew of the Defiant began damage assessment and prepared to render assistance to the disabled Kronax vessels, they knew they had done more than survive an alien attack. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their technology, but in their ability to think beyond the boundaries of what others considered possible. 3 days after the battle, the Defiant's mess hall had been converted into an impromptu conference room. Captain Rodriguez sat at one end of the long table, with Dr. Chen and Lieutenant Walsh flanking him. Across from them sat High Commander Xerxes, his crystalline environmental suit catching the light as he moved, along with 2 other Kronax officers. The tension in the room was palpable, but different now, more like the tension between respected rivals than mortal enemies. On the table between them, a holographic display showed the quantum anomaly, its energies now fully mapped and understood thanks to the combined efforts of both human and Kronax scientists. "Your analysis of the anomaly's properties was unprecedented," Xerxes admitted, his translator conveying a mix of reluctance and genuine admiration. "In all our centuries of quantum research, we never considered approaching the problem from such an unstructured perspective." Sarah nodded, pulling up additional data on the holographic display. "That's because you were looking for perfect solutions. Sometimes the best answers come from embracing imperfection, from letting chaos and order work together rather than fighting against each other." The Kronax scientists exchanged looks that seemed meaningful even through their environmental suits. One of them, introduced as Chief Researcher Vax, leaned forward. "The implications for quantum field theory are enormous. Your Chen's third principle completely redefines our understanding of multidimensional space-time interaction. That's why we're proposing this joint research initiative," Rodriguez said, his tone diplomatic but firm. The Defiant's mission was always about expanding the boundaries of human knowledge. "We believe that goal can be better served through cooperation than conflict." Xerxes' crystalline fingers tapped against the table in a rhythm that might have indicated deep thought. "The Kronax Empire has never entered into a scientific partnership with another species before. Our knowledge has always been carefully guarded, passed down through generations of approved scholars. And how's that working out for you?" Maya's voice came from the doorway as she entered, carrying a tablet filled with engineering data. "Sorry I'm late, Captain. Had to finish the final diagnostics on the quantum core." She placed the tablet on the table, displaying complex readings that immediately caught the Kronax scientists' attention. "See these efficiency improvements. They're a direct result of the chaos we introduced into the system during the battle. The core isn't just running better, it's evolved, something your perfectly ordered systems never had the chance to do." The Kronax officers studied the data in silence for several long moments. Finally, Xerxes spoke again, but this time his voice carried a different tone, one of decision made after careful consideration. Perhaps the Empire's approach to knowledge needs to evolve as well. Your victory was not just about superior tactics or technology. It was about perspective, about seeing possibilities where we saw only equations to be solved. That's humanity's greatest strength, Sarah said quietly. We don't just think outside the box. We question why there needs to be a box at all. Rodriguez smiled slightly. So, Commander, shall we discuss the terms of this research partnership? The next few hours were spent in detailed negotiation. The Kronax, for all their rigid hierarchy, proved to be surprisingly adaptable when presented with clear evidence of better alternatives. By the time the meeting concluded, the framework for humanity's first major scientific cooperation with an alien species had been established. As the Kronax officers prepared to return to their vessels, now repaired enough for basic function, Xerxes paused at the mess hall doorway. Captain Rodriguez, he said, turning back. There is something our historical archives speak of, a concept from ancient Kronax philosophy before we embraced pure mathematical order. They called it the wisdom of uncertainty, the idea that true understanding comes not from eliminating chaos, but from learning to dance with it. He gestured at the Defiant's crew. I believe we had forgotten this wisdom until your ship showed us its value again. Perhaps that is why the universe arranged our meeting in this way. After the Kronax had departed, the crew gathered on the bridge, watching through the main viewport as the alien ships prepared to depart. The quantum anomaly continued its eternal dance in the background, but now it seemed less mysterious, more like a beacon of possibilities yet to be explored. So, Walsh asked, breaking the contemplative silence, what do we tell Earth? Sorry, we almost started a war with an advanced alien empire, but hey, we got a research partnership out of it. Rodriguez chuckled. We tell them the truth. That humanity's first major encounter with the Kronax Empire proved what we've always known. Our greatest strength isn't in our technology or our weapons, but in our ability to imagine, to adapt, and to see beauty in the chaos of possibility. And maybe, Sarah added, looking at the quantum anomaly with a scientist's endless curiosity, we remind them that the best discoveries often come not from seeking perfection, but from being willing to embrace the unknown with an open mind and a brave heart. The Defiant's quantum core hummed softly, its energy patterns now a unique hybrid of human innovation and Kronax precision. As the ship prepared to begin its journey home, its crew knew they had done more than survive an encounter with a vastly superior force. They had opened a door to new understanding, not just of quantum physics, but of the infinite ways intelligent life could learn and grow together. In the vast darkness of space, the quantum anomaly pulsed one final time, as if in approval, its purple-green light a reminder that in the universe's grand dance of order and chaos, there was room for endless possibility, if only one had the courage to seek it.